Persona 4 Golden has finally left the Vita. This is easily one of my favourite games of all time, and the Vita, while I appreciate it, was mostly just a Persona 4 machine to me, and I was satisfied with that. I never recommend buying a console just for one game, but one summer while I was at university, I played through the entirety of Persona 4 and felt the entire system was justified. It's that good. This is such a special game, and it didn't deserve to be stranded on a console that few people owned. But now, here's its chance to shine. So surprise! Persona 4 Golden has been fully ported to PC. Going back to the Vita game through a PlayStation TV really opened my eyes to what an upgrade this new version is. The original didn't hit the Vita's native 544p resolution, and so environments and character models have a very jaggy look to them. Now this was mostly masked by the Vita's small screen, but the TV experience wasn't great. But what you're seeing here is PC footage running at 1080p, 60fps with anti-aliasing and improved rendering. And if you're watching this video in HD and in full screen, you'll no doubt see a striking difference in image quality. I went over 100 hours in the Vita version, never knowing there was a Persona 3 poster in your room, but it's so clear now. You can almost make out what Dojima's reading on his newspaper, whereas on Vita it's just a big blurry jumble. But this is mostly just an upgrade to image quality and performance. Actual character models and assets look pretty much untouched, and that's kind of a double-edged sword. Persona 4 was originally a PS2 game, and it cut a lot of corners, like these trees basically being PNGs that move around a little. That didn't look so jarring on PS2 or on Vita, but in HD, my eyes can't stop looking at them. And the character models may look a little jarring by modern standards. Are you okay, GA? But the portraits have upscaled so well, and that, mixed with the energetic voice acting, really brings everything to life. Though it can sometimes feel like you're playing on a jacked up Vita, as the text size remains the exact same. Areas absolutely show their PS2 roots, but the game makes up for it with style. Menus aren't as flashy and out there as Persona 5, but it's hard not to hear the music and be drawn into the game's vibe. But to be honest, part of the reason I loved playing this game on Vita was how flexible it was. It's the perfect game to put in standby and make a little progress whenever you get the chance, and part of that flexibility was lost when playing on my desktop. However, I could still relive the portable experience on my entry-level laptop that ran Persona 4 remarkably well, and that's especially helpful with Steam's cloud saves that carry over from system to system. It's not too demanding of a game, so you can play it pretty much anywhere. But playing on another PC highlighted a problem that I thought was just an anomaly. For whatever reason, I could max out the game at 60fps and everything would be solid, but whenever there was an anime cutscene, the sequence would stutter at random moments. Now the cutscenes aren't plentiful enough to tarnish my experience, but it was weird, and it's hopefully something you guys won't have to experience by the time the game comes out. This would also happen during an all-out attack. This one's very brief, but whenever the attack occurs, it for some reason stutters for like a second, and then it's fine. Not game-breaking, but I do hope they fix it. One last weird thing is the auto-advanced text boxes seem to have lost their rhythm. On Vita, they were paced out so each line would feel like a natural advancement of conversation, but on PC, the next line plays almost immediately after the prior line finishes. Let's put them side by side and see how quickly they desync.
What are you, scared of a little lightning?
Quiet, you! I'd be a goner if even one of those things hit me!
You're freaking out way too much. Come on, shouldn't weather like this help with your kung fu training? A bolt of lightning would hit and it'd give you the inspiration for a new move. There's a scene like that in your DVD, wasn't there? You jerk! You
don't even care how I feel! If lightning has to strike someone, let it be!
Weird, huh? But this is the grooviest and most cozy mode of mystery of all time. It is a bit of a slow burn with the opening 2 hours primarily just being story, but stick with it. There's a reason this dominated my life back on the Vita. The small town of Inaba is my favourite setting of the entire series. It's a lot more condensed than Tokyo and Persona 5, and that means that everything has a purpose and everyone knows each other. Over the in-game year, you'll become familiar with every square foot of this world. There's not a sprawling list of things you can do, but there's enough that managing your time becomes a careful consideration. Much like other games in the series, Persona 4 has a calendar structure. You live out every single day of the year, but it's up to you how you manage your time, especially because each activity takes up a certain portion of the day. Every element of Persona 4 complements another perfectly. The story may initially seem like a jolly tale of a transfer student making friends at school, but it doesn't take long for things to get weird, with a serial killer gradually taking out key members of this small town. While you and your friends gain the power of Persona that let you fight back and enter the shadow world, you're also just school kids. you still need to attend classes and live your life as a normal student. This is where the genius of Persona shines through. It may sound mundane to go from a dungeon-crawling superhero to getting food with your friends, but Persona meaningfully ties every component together. Sacrificing your time to hang out with friends builds up social links. For instance, an enemy may knock down Yukiko and force her to miss her go, but if I built my bond with her, I can help her straight back up. So the entire game becomes a conscious decision about how you spend your time. Do you hang out with your friends and get closer to them? Do you push forward in the shadow world? Or do you even take the time to study or get a part-time job? There's no real right way to play, but with so many paths to take in limited time, it can be hard to stop. There was always more I wanted to do. Like, yeah, I probably should stop playing because it's 3 AM, but also I need to finish this book about fishing so I can fish better, goddammit! It's a simple game, but there are so many layers to unravel, and when all is said and done, Inaba and the outstanding cast are undoubtedly some of the most memorable in RPG history. One area I was concerned to return to though were the dungeons. Persona 5 massively refined the series with deliberately crafted labyrinths filled with puzzles, set pieces, and story, but every dungeon in Persona 4 is randomly generated. You basically just run from floor to floor trying to find the next staircase until you eventually get to the boss. It sounds like something I wouldn't usually like, but in execution it actually holds up remarkably well. Powering through an entire dungeon in one sitting is a tough task, and you'll likely make it to the boss with around 4 SP left. You have to make the conscious decision when you've had enough so you can turn around and try again the next day. Persona 5's dungeons definitely have 4 beat and sheer effort, but there's something to be said for the simplicity. It's an entirely gameplay-focused loop in a game that's otherwise pulled through by the story. It's a kinda cathartic break from the usual progression, so I struggle to outright call it worse, even if it's surely less ambitious. In either case, the turn-based combat is still as fast and frantic as ever, and it's incredibly rewarding to utilize everything you built up from other areas in the game. Persona 4 Golden on PC isn't a giant overhaul of the original game, but all it needed to do was release this game from the shackles of the Vita. Hopefully this is the start of a promising future for Persona on other platforms, and while it's not quite a flawless port, I still had an outstanding time revisiting one of my all-time favourite games in a much higher resolution. There's even dual audio this time around, which is a great way to re-experience a game you may have already played on both PS2 and Vita. I loved Persona 4 Golden on PC. I do hope the issues I had get resolved, but Persona 4 has never looked so good and been so easy to access. It is one of the best. Anyway, thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this, we have a full comparison of the PlayStation Vita version versus the Steam version, so go check that out, and for a lot more on Persona, be sure to subscribe to GameXplain. Until next time everyone, bye!